You don't need to put cancer-causing chemicals on your children's skin. There are sunscreens out there that are as effective and that are completely natural zinc-based sunscreen. But no one's told you this. Unfortunately, you're poisoning your children and you might not even know it. This is called the top 10 most dangerous parenting mistakes. I see young men in the change room, they're spraying aluminium, petro-based chemicals underneath their armpit, but they don't know that this stuff causes cancer. We are poisoned by plastic. There's a lot of nanoplastic particles and pieces of plastic in your standard food. One example is a lot of people use these plastic chopping boards, and as you chop on plastic, little pieces of plastic will come off, they'll go into your food and you'll eat it. So you'll be poisoned by plastic. Ongoing exposure to nanoplastics has a direct effect on reproduction, hormone regulation, brain function, overall health, and the list goes on and on. Cancer's food is sugar. So most people are sugar fiends. They're so addicted to sugar that they don't know how addicted they are. We see a direct correlation between sugar consumption and cancer. One of the most important things is to get them off the processed sugar immediately. Sugar dramatically reduces the immune system. Good health doesn't start with clean hands. Good health actually starts with good bacteria. The biggest mistake that we make as parents is Greetings, parents, and welcome to the Dr. Espen podcast. I'm your host, Espen. Today, I want to talk about the top 10 most dangerous parenting mistakes. And I want to do this specifically based on so many questions that have come to me and to our coaches here at the Quantum Academy for many years about parenting and about how we can best raise our children to live a beautiful, healthy life, not be too caught up and conditioned by fear, and how we can ensure that we pass on the things that they should learn and should be able to embody rather than the traumas that we might have inherited from our parents. As I say in my events, it ran in the family until it ran into me. So I want to make a couple of points here. I am a dad. I'm a dad of a 7-year-old boy. It's been the greatest thing in my life to become a father. It is the biggest blessing, and if you're a parent, I'm sure you know, it is the greatest gift. And honestly, as they say, I think, kids have a lot to teach us, even more so than we have to teach them. So what I've done is I've done research over the last couple of months to put this together, the 10 top most dangerous parenting mistakes. And before I get into it, I want to say that I am very far from perfect. I make so many mistakes. And so my point here is not to preach. My point here is not to point fingers and say you're doing it wrong. My point is not to say that I'm doing it right. This is simply for me a combination of two things: the research that I've done, the experience and education that I have around what it means to truly live a healthy, beautiful life, and me expressing myself as a father, hoping that those of you who have children or those of you who will be having children can have this opportunity to learn from some of the mistakes that I've made, some of the mistakes that I've seen people make, so we don't make those same mistakes again. So I'm not perfect, I can guarantee you. And this is not a podcast for children, by the way. So if you've got children listening in the car, I will be using some strong phrases. So maybe keep that in mind. But this is going to trigger the shit out of you. If you're a parent or if you're intending to have kids, this is going to trigger you. It's going to trigger a lot of thinking outside of the box. So I'm asking you right now, if you're committing to and open to keeping an open mind, because there's going to be some things that I'll share that a lot of it will be research evidence-based. I'm going to quote, what it is, where you can look it up and things like that. But there's also going to be some things that will just make sense intuitively to you. Everything I say here is from the intention of serving you. Maybe I'll pronounce something wrong. English is my second language. Maybe I'll say something that is not technically correct. I doubt it. I've done a lot of research on this and to prepare myself, but there will be some mistakes. I'm sure of it. So if that's the case, don't worry. Look it up yourself. This is for you to kind of tune into and see which parts of these you want to pick up. Now, for those of you who are parents And if you want to take this to a whole new level, the best thing to do is not just to listen to this podcast, to this lecture or this transmission, but to listen to it and to feel into it. And then sit down with your loved ones, with your husband, with your wife, with your partner, maybe send it to the mother or the father of your children, whatever it might be, and actually go through the 10 step by step. So when we start with number 1, write it out. What can you do to implement this in your life? Because when we're talking about processed sugar and seed oils and phthalates and toxins and stuff that we have in our house that we use every day, the nanoplastics that are poisoning our children, what's the point of looking at a podcast or a transmission like this or listening to it and then going, oh yeah, so I've got forever chemicals in my cookware, and then keep cooking with the same fucking cookware? Right? So again, yeah, I'm going to be strong in this transmission because your kids are worth it. You're worth it. Right? And this is the sort of stuff that you don't learn. And this is the sort of stuff that you actually get taught the other way, the other side of the coin, so that you just keep on cooking with, Teflon and stuff that has forever chemicals for the rest of your life. So a couple of things. One, I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. This is going to trigger you. If this is useful, please, in order to do it for the kids, share this with as many parents as you can, because this one interview, this one transmission or the 10 steps, they could really change someone's life. Imagine just removing toxic chemicals from a kid's life in the beginning, in their early stages, and it's never too late. Better starting today than never starting at all. But imagine if we did that now. Imagine the effect that would have over the next decade in itself. So this is powerful. It's from personal experience. And I hope that you receive it as, from my heart to your heart. This is part of this episode. The top 10 most dangerous parenting mistakes that we're about to get into is part of the quantum parenting series that I'll be sharing. So if this is useful, please share back. Instagram, YouTube, commenting on the podcast, leave your comments in Spotify, in Apple, whatever it is, so that I can get some feedback, because if this is useful, I might do more of these as well. So without further ado, strap yourself in because this is going to be an interesting one. Cool. So this is called the top 10 most dangerous parenting mistakes. Number 1, the lack of physical touch and not being held without an agenda. So when I was growing up, I can't recall all the details, but I remember really craving being held. There's a lot of research that have come out in the last decade, particularly, that shows a direct correlation between when the little one is born, the amount of time that the little one is actually held skin to skin, particularly with the mother, and the actual death rates and disease rates. So when the little one is born, it actually doesn't know, its nervous system doesn't recognize right away that it's not one with the mother. And so when, as they do in many hospitals around the world, little one is born, right away, the most important thing, as soon as the birth has been done in a healthy way and in a successful way, the little one needs to be on the mother's chest and needs to be held. And the little one then would feel the mother's heartbeat just like it did in the womb, and it'll feel safe. Okay? Now, we know that there's a direct correlation between the lack of being held and the death rates, and you can look this up yourself. So the less we are held, the higher the morbidity rates, the death rates, right? And here's the key. It's not just in the first few months of life. Okay? It's year after year after year. And so parents, if you were not held enough, of course, you borrowed your parents' program, there is a chance that you may not be holding your children enough. And that doesn't mean giving them a hug. It means when they're young, like taking a moment, put the phone away, put the agenda away, and just be in that moment. Hugging without an agenda, holding without an agenda, being together without an agenda. And that's the mother and the father. Okay? Now, A friend of mine, actually, a shaman, amazing guy, he runs a program on this. And the program for adults is coming together, learning about physical touch, the importance of that level of connection and being held. And so he brings together adults, and what he does is to allow them to be together. And they literally go through a curriculum over several days where they hold each other, where they are held. And by the way, if you are receiving a hug or being held and you feel a bit awkward, you remember the time, and this will resonate with many of you. I remember when I grew up, my mum would hold me from memory sometimes, but I craved so much more. But when I hugged my dad, it was like an awkward hug. Have you ever had one of those awkward hugs? And not just, males, but commonly, at least in where I'm born and raised, it was like an awkward hug. I see it often, when people hug, and it's like one person's a little bit awkward. And I see it all the times in my events. It's like, okay, I'm not really going to hug, because they're not allowing themselves. Maybe they don't feel connected to the individual. Maybe it's a stranger. That's cool. I get it. And you should be aware, the moment you put your hands on someone, you're exchanging life force energy immediately. So if their energy hygiene is not good, well, you'll take it on, right? So you need to discern that. But I'm talking about when your parents hug you or someone in your family gives you a hug. Can you really be there? Are you really present? Is your heart open? Are you really cherishing that moment? Or is it a bit awkward, right? Because we've all had an awkward hug. And if this is your children, your wife, or your husband that we're talking about, maybe the awkward hug from your side is a wound from childhood because you weren't held. Sit with that for a moment, right? And consider that, because I think this brings us so much clarity. If you feel awkward hugging, maybe that's part of your nervous system that hasn't learned to receive that yet. Now, how then are you hugging your children, and what imprint are we giving to them? So point number one is the most dangerous mistake. The first I want to mention is from the very start of life, we're not held enough. We're not hugged enough. By that, it creates a feeling of separation, which is the opposite of unity consciousness. And if we don't have that physical touch from the beginning, it has a direct imprint on our nervous system. So tune into that. What does this mean for you? And how are you going to act upon this in your life with your children, with your loved ones, or whoever it is? Okay. So to be clear, a lack of touch can and will result in developmental delays, immune dysfunction, and emotional detachment. Cool. Hope that has served you. Let's get on to number two. The second most dangerous mistakes that we often make as parents is ignoring toxins, the poison that's in our environment, and it's everywhere. So I want to share a story here first. When my son, his name is Gunnar, Gunnar, Gunnar. He chose his own name when he was 6 months in the womb. That's a whole story for another day. But when he was young, I remember he was about 2, maybe 3, and I was interviewing for daycare centers and traveling around the Gold Coast, interviewing different daycare centers, looking for something that's clean, that's organic, that's conscious, that's nature-based, and not as conditioned within the standard educational system, right, for children. I'm not here to indoctrinate my child to outdated paradigms and beliefs that don't really serve them, right? I used to be training to be a teacher in schools, and I left because I wasn't going to indoctrinate children towards systems that teach them how to be slaves, 9-to-5 workers, taxpayers, and obedient little citizens, right? I want him to be sovereign. I want him to be able to express himself and learn to grow into who he is destined to be as a child of God, as a creative, natural, being. So I digress. But so let's say he was 2 or 3, and I was interviewing for daycare centers, traveling all around the Gold Coast. And I'd go to one, didn't feel good, too many kids, not enough teachers. And by the way, I'm not just interviewing, looking at the curriculum. I'm studying the energy hygiene of the teachers, right? Is this person standing upright? Are they, do they seem to be loving and caring and compassionate? Are they healthy individuals? Does it look like they're taking care of themselves? How do they interact with the children? and so on and so forth. And so I'm really looking at energy. I'm really feeling energy. I'm following my intuition. I'm looking for synchronicity. I'm doing my research, but I'm present, right? So there's the analytical side of my brain, which is my left brain, which is looking at, okay, what's the curriculum like? How are the teachers like? What are the accolades? How safe is it? And so on and so forth. And there's the other side of my right brain, is the intuitive emotional side, looking at the connection to the children, feeling into if this is a place that's going to be perfect or as good as it could be for his growth and evolution. So again, you can do the same in any situation, by the way. And so I go to this one childcare place, and I walk in and I had two primary questions, right? Just to see what the kind of philosophy was and the awareness was. And the two questions that I remembered that really stood out was one, where is the water? Okay. And I wasn't just asking where is the water because I needed to know where the tap was. I wanted to see what kind of water they were serving their children. Now, they were at this point in time, at this particular daycare center, there were 30 children. Okay. So I thought, that's a bit too much, but if they have enough teachers, if they have a good structure, I'm open to considering it. And I asked one of the teachers, I said, where is the water? And she turns around, she points into the corner and she says, the tap is over there. And right away, I just went, red flag. Okay. Because that means that this daycare center, and I'm not pointing fingers, this is my personal opinion and research, and you can do your own. Their standard go-to is that all the children drink tap water. Okay. So I thought, okay, great. And I asked, I said, well, my son doesn't drink tap water. So I'm going to be bringing in, cans of water, gallons of water for him to drink. Are there any other parents that they're bringing water? And the answer was heartbreaking. The teacher said, no, all the kids drink tap water. Okay. So if you do the research, approximately, give or take, I don't know the recent studies. I think this was from 2023 or so. But approximately 80% of the water in Australia and in America, many places, have been fluoridated. And it has a lot of different chemicals in there, chlorine and other chemicals. I mean, if you take tap water into a glass and clean water into a glass, you will see the difference. And you will certainly smell the difference. And chlorine, for example, will kill a lot of bacteria, not just the bad bacteria. Okay? So there's a lot more to it than fluoride, which is a sedative. Okay? If you look at its original creation, it's actually a sedative for the nervous system. And I, for one, am not going to sedate my child. And I'm not going to, okay, couple points. One, water is spirit. Spirit is water. God is in the water. The water is intelligent. It is wise. We know now from the work of Dr. Emoto, from Veda Austin, who I shared a stage with at Gaia, that the water is intelligent. If you talk to it, it will respond. If you say to the water, I love you, the frequency into the body will have an effect on your cells. If you're stressed and you just drink the water without consciousness, it will have another effect on the body. Your body is over 70 to 80% water. You are water. You are spirit. Get it? So what happens if your children drink, I wouldn't say poisonous, but I would say unclean water their entire life? What would happen? Do you think the body's going to bioaccumulate some toxins? Oh, you betcha. Do you think that's going to calcify their pineal gland and slow down and shut off their intuition? I would say it's a very good chance. Do you think that ongoing chlorine is going to have an effect on their nervous system and their gut system? Oh, you betcha. So it blew me away that there were 30 kids. And my son was the only child that drank what I refer to as clean water. Again, parents, no judgment here. But if we are water, how easy couldn't it be? How powerful and simple couldn't it be to change up your water filtration system? There are some really great filters that you can get. You can buy clean water. And by the way, your standard Brita filter that you get at your Coles and Woolies here in Australia or your standard supermarket around the world, they're not the kind of filters. They're made from plastic and they don't filter it properly. You need a proper filter. I'm not going to go into the whole conversation. I use a Kangen K8. Not selling you anything, just letting you know that's one of the best filters out there. But there's a lot of different ways you can do this. But water is fundamental. Now, let's get to the second point. The second thing that I asked the teachers at the childcare center was, where is the sunscreen? So I asked, where is the water? And the second one was, where is the sunscreen? Okay. And the teacher pointed to a station at the front, and she said, the sunscreen's over there. And I turned and I looked, and right away I saw this orange thing. And I knew what brand it was. I knew what chemicals it has in it, which are carcinogens, okay? Cancer-causing chemicals. I just went, okay. And so I asked the teacher, great, thank you for letting me know. Are there any other kids where the parents bring in sunscreen? Other sunscreen? They said, no, we use the sunscreen that's here. And my heart sank. Okay, so let's put a couple of things in perspective. And I'm going to give you a couple of names of some of these chemicals as well. You can look it up. You can even go and study your own sunscreen and look and see if any of these petrol-based chemicals are in the sunscreen. And I bet you, if it's a standard commercial sunscreen, yeah, there are cancer-causing chemicals in it. And yes, you've been putting it on your children. And yes, it gets absorbed into their body. So research would say that between 50 and 70% of what you put on the skin will be absorbed into the bloodstream. Okay, so it's not just what you put on the body, in the body, it's also what you put on the body. So we're going to get to deodorants and heavy metals in a moment, aluminium, we're going to talk about forever chemicals, phthalates, like it's horrendous what we see in blood tests. When I test the blood of my patients now, of my clients now, the stuff that we see is just insane, the amount of toxins. Okay, so I asked, where's the sunscreen? She said, over there. I walked over, I looked at the sunscreen, and I knew exactly what was in there. And, if you're considering what you're putting on the children's skin and how much of that may and will be absorbed into the bloodstream, and then you put a standard sunscreen onto your child, right, to the open pores, they go out in the sun, the pores open when they get hot, they sweat. When the pores open, that sunscreen will go into the pores and into the blood. And then you have the sun, particularly here in Australia. Many of us are white-skinned, which means that we need sunscreen. Let's be clear. I'm not saying don't have sunscreen. By the way, you need sun, and you should get sunshine every day. The source of life is the burning ball in the sky that we call the sun. If the sun disappears, we're all dead. We are light at our core. We need light. You're not supposed to be sunburnt, but if you don't get sunshine, let's be clear, that's one of the leading causes of death. Why? Because a deficiency in vitamin D is the precursor to most chronic diseases. If not at least a major precursor. And when we surveyed our patients, we did blood tests of 100 patients. We found that over 90% of our patients were deficient in vitamin D because they're not getting enough sun. Because we can be conditioned that the sun is dangerous. No, what's dangerous is not getting sun. Okay, let's be clear here. And I know I'm getting passionate about this conversation, but if you go to your doctor and you ask for a blood test for vitamin D, 9 out of 10 times you'll be deficient. And that's normally what's leading to a lot of disease, and you don't even know that you're deficient. Make sense? So yes, lighter skinned children need sunscreen when we get out in sun so we don't get burnt. And by the way, a little sun kiss is not a problem. Regularly burnt is a problem. And let's not even start talking about skin cancers. Skin cancers don't normally come from sun. They come from a toxic body full of inflammation, including nanoparticles, plastics, phthalates and the things that we've discussed. And then you zap it with high UV radiation. Okay, so let's be clear. You normally don't get skin cancer or other types of cancer just from sun. There's way more to the conversation than that. But let's come back to this. You don't need to put cancer-causing chemicals on your children's skin. There are sunscreens out there that are as effective and that are completely natural zinc-based sunscreen. But no one's told you this, right? If you're conscious, if you're awake, you already know this. You haven't put that stuff on your skin or your children's skin forever because you know that these petrol-based chemicals are carcinogens. But if this is the first time you're hearing it, you might be like, holy fuck. Why hasn't anyone told me this? Well, right now you're learning. That's why you're going to share this podcast with as many people as you can, and hopefully it'll serve you, right? So you can still use sunscreen for yourself and your kids that's not petro-based and chemical-based. So here's some of the research that I've done. Let me read this out for you. Standard sunscreen, and you can just look at your own sunscreen and see if this is applicable for you, contains oxybenzone, octioxate, homosalate, and all these are hormone disruptors. They disrupt your children's hormones and your hormone regulation as well, due to the tissue toxicity that takes place. They're absorbed into the skin and even through the umbilical cord. So if you're a mother and you're pregnant and you're using standard sunscreen, unfortunately, you're poisoning your children, or your child, I should say, and you might not even know it. Okay, check this out. Band-Aids, okay, often includes phthalates, latex, acrylic adhesives, and triclosan, okay, which also changes hormones. Now, next one, deodorants, aluminium salts, fluoride, triclosan, SLS. And the biggest problem with some of these things is that the ingredients list will say fragrances. I cringe when I go to the gym and I see young men in the change room and they're spraying aluminium, petro-based chemicals, carcinogens underneath their armpit, right? Which gets absorbed into the bloodstream when they could use a natural deodorant that is as effective. But they don't know that this stuff causes cancer, can cause cancer. These ingredients are neurotoxic. They affect your hormone regulation, including your thyroid, which regulates your metabolism. So too much of these chemicals will actually affect your metabolism. And of course, they affect also your gut-brain communication. Some of these chemicals are so small that they can actually cross the blood-brain barrier, including, as I said before, some dangerous toxins like artificial sweeteners, aspartame, for example, and they will literally stain your brain. And it's very hard to detoxify from it once it's in there. So be clear, guys. Go clean, go natural. You can get natural deodorants, natural cleaning products, natural toothpaste, right? And of course, as I said, natural sunscreen. So let's go through a couple other things. This is a big one, guys, and this is very important. And again, I care for you. I care for your children. I'm talking to you like I'm talking to my best friend. And also, I want to point this out, as I said before, try to act upon some of this, particularly these ones that we're going through right now. There's no need to use those chemical-based stuff anymore. If you want to do this properly, once you've listened to this transmission, this podcast, you literally go through your house and you throw out all the toxins. If you're not sure, throw it out, right? And then get organic, clean stuff. It's going to cost you a bit more, but trust me, it's going to take years for your body, for your children's body to detoxify from these heavy metals, from these toxins. But if you start now, it's never too late. Okay, here's the next one I want to talk about, cookware. Okay, include plastic boards and particularly nanoplastics. New research has come out in the last 3 to 4 years, and it shows us that if you take a standard person off the street and you look at their blood and you look for nanoplastics, it's riddled in their blood. So we are poisoned by plastic. There's a lot of nanoplastic particles and pieces of plastic in your standard food. If you go and buy, like, say, cornflakes or standard chips, and you eat that stuff, there's going to be nanoplastics in there. Do your research, look it up. So, one example is a lot of people use these plastic chopping boards, right? So you chop your vegetables on it, whatever. And as you chop on plastic, little pieces of plastic will come off. They'll go into your food and you'll eat it. So you'll be poisoned by plastic. Now, a little bit's not a problem, but trust me, ongoing exposure to nanoplastics has a direct effect on reproduction, hormone regulation, brain function, overall health, and the list goes on and on. So a couple of things. Teflon and non-stick pans, okay, they have forever chemicals in there. Now, it's in the name forever chemicals. What does this mean? Once it's in the body, you can never get rid of it. This is the same stuff we see in perfume. and in deodorants, as I've just mentioned. This is directly connected and linked to cancer, fertility issues, and autoimmune conditions. So actually, everything piles upon the next and builds upon each other. Now, it's interesting because plastic cutting boards released about the stuff that you cut your vegetables on. If it's plastic, throw it out. Use wood, right? Get rid of it. Plastic containers as well. If you have a spoon, right, or a fork in a plastic container, you eat your food, you scratch the bottom just a little bit, it's got to be nanoplastics. You use your cooking material with your Teflon, and sometimes, I cringe. And people cook their food, fry their eggs or whatever in this Teflon pan, and they use steel, literally scraping off forever chemicals into their food, not even knowing it. How many years have we done it, right? So the plastic boards contain and can release up to 1,500 microplastics per meal. Okay, this is from a 2022 study. Per meal. They penetrate the gut lining, they penetrate the blood-brain barrier, they poison your body, they upset immune system signaling, hormone balance, and mitochondrial function. If it affects the mitochondria, your energy production factory of your cells, it's not a good thing. Phthalates, synthetics in plastic, in fragrances. These, gentlemen, if your testosterone is low, which you can easily get tested with your GP or with your naturopath, now we see the actual amount of, and I don't have the recent stats on this, you can look it up, but the average amount of testosterone in, say, a 30-year-old male today is dramatically reduced to the amount of testosterone a man in their 30s would have 10 and 20 years ago. And it is the level of testosterone is on such a decline that if the trend continues, most men will not be able to reproduce. What's the cause of this? All of the things I've discussed and the things that I'll be getting to in the next couple of steps. So you can check your testosterone levels. Ladies, you can check your hormone levels. But we need to get rid of the chemicals, the artificial sweeteners, the nanoplastics, the forever chemicals, and the heavy metals, guys. This is everywhere, and it's not that hard to get rid of it, as I've already said. So these lead to hormonal issues, asthma, ADHD-like symptoms in your children, and there's a lot more to have to discuss on that. So solutions, as I said, replace the plastic. Even my underwear, I don't have plastic underwear, synthetic materials underwear. Use bamboo, use organic cotton, right? Use wood, use glass in your cookware and in your Tupperware stuff, rather than, the chemical stuff that we've talked about. Use mineral-based sunscreen and phthalate-free personal care, and scan products. There's a couple of apps there's one called EWG, EWG's Healthy Living, and there's another one called Think Dirty. And there's several apps. I'm going to see if I can find it, because there's one app that I found. Let me see if I can see this on my phone. I actually haven't used this for a while, but there are several apps, and you might even know them, that you can actually use. And you go to the store and you use your phone and you scan it, and it'll tell you a score from 1 to 100 how healthy or unhealthy this thing is. And you can actually find out what chemicals. It's called Yuka. YUKA. Okay, you literally go and scan the things in your supermarket, and you'll see what kind of chemicals are in there. Yuka, YUKA. Not endorsing or selling an idea, but just giving you some examples of some of these apps that could be very useful. Okay, so number 2 is a big one, guys. Let's not make these mistakes again. Let's clean up our environment right away, because our children deserve better, and so do we. Okay, number 3, not honoring your body temple, especially during illness, not honoring your body temple. So the third biggest mistake that we make as parents is that we actually don't honor our own body temple, and our children will mirror and match. So as I say, kids don't always do as we say or what we say, but they become like we are. They're modeling the masters, so to speak. So if you don't honor your body temple, if your kids don't see you eating clean, saying no to sugar, having a structure and a balance, If your kids see you rushing and stressing all the time rather than taking care of yourself and meditating and fasting, intermittent fasting from time to time, they're going to pick up the exact same program that you're running at the moment. So think about this. One of the leading causes of death, if not the biggest leading cause of death in the world, is processed sugar. And not just processed sugar that you put in your coffee or whatever, but the processed sugar that's in almost every single food that you will find, because processed sugar is more addictive to the brain than heroin. And what is it that creates cancer? Well, let's put it this way. Cancer's food is sugar. So most people are sugar fiends. They're so addicted to sugar that they don't know how addicted they are. And they're continuously running on this sugar spike, searching the next spike. And you don't need to burn sugar or glucose as your primary fuel. You can actually change your body's metabolism to burn fat as its primary fuel. This is called ketosis, right? And as you know, processed sugar and high sugar foods is a leading cause of many diseases, including cardiovascular disease, heart disease, and many others. Obviously, cancer. We see a direct correlation between sugar consumption and cancer. So if you know anyone's been diagnosed with cancer, the most important thing, let me rephrase, one of the most important things is to get them off the processed sugar immediately. Sugar dramatically reduces the immune system. Okay? It feeds the parasites that's in your gut. 90+% of my patients had parasites infections they didn't even know. They've never been to someone like me. They've never been to a naturopath. They've never done a GI map test or a gut biome test. So they don't know what kind of critters are in there. And they're eating sugar, not knowing that it's feeding the parasites and not knowing that their sugar cravings come from the fact that they're dehydrated, they're addicted to sugar, and the parasites are creating cravings within them because the parasites need to be fed sugar. So sugar is processed sugar. I'm going to make a joke. I'm about to swear. Okay. So this is a joke for the parents, mute the kids, earmuffs. Okay. I normally say, instead of saying fuck when you hurt yourself or something, challenging happens, you should say sugar, because sugar is way worse for you than a fuck. You get it? So it's a joke, but it's so true. Processed sugar is incredibly dangerous because most people have it so much, and it's in everywhere. It's not just in your Coca-Colas and your foods, but it's in packets that they're just in ketchup. It's in freaking everywhere. So again, be aware of that. Now think about this. Sugar dramatically reduces your immune system. Okay, creates an insulin spike and creates a whole bunch of issues leading to diabetes, which is, a major issue. Alzheimer's, which is diabetes of the brain, right? Let's be clear. And many other conditions. Now, here's the key. You know what and again, no judgment here, guys, but what I see parents do and what my parents did is that when I'm sick, like let's say that the child is sick, right? And they got a fever, they got a flu, they got something going on. What do we feed them? Poison. Yeah. Sugar. When your kids are sick and they're not hungry, sometimes they need to have certain nutrients to get well. Absolutely. But if they're not hungry, right? Try not to force them to eat because maybe their body needs to go into a fasting state. Do you know how powerful it is to fast? I'm not talking about children in general and not pregnant women and not menstruating women, but fasting in general is, sometimes I think gluttony is 3 meals a day. Okay? But let's talk about that in another podcast. The worst thing that we can do in this instance is when our children are unwell, we feed them sugar. We give them lollies when they're sick. I've done that. And I've just gone, are you kidding me? I love my son and we love our children, but we have never been taught that sugar is poison. And when you feed them sugar when they're unwell, you're literally making it worse. Significantly worse, particularly if they have a bacterial infection, which is quite common, obviously, when they're unwell. So pointing that out, what are your children eating in the morning? Is it cereal, processed cereal with laced with artificial sugars, I should say processed sugars, right? Or are they eating eggs and avocado and natural healthy stuff? This is going to have a major impact on their behavior. Particularly for me, I was, ADHD child all my life. I noticed a dramatic change in my son's behavior when I changed his diet. A dramatic change. If you're having children with ADHD, ADD, the first, best, and easiest place to start is by gently starting to change their nutrition. Now, it's going to be, challenging. They might kick up a stink. They might, not be so happy about it. But honestly, guys, sugar is a major one. So giving refined sugar to children during sickness will significantly reduce their immune function for up to 5 hours after digestion. I can tell you it's longer than that. Processed comfort foods actually promote a massive spike in inflammation and delays their healing significantly. Artificial colors, preservatives, and seed oils, and we'll come to this soon, burdens the liver and the brain, creates a backlog in the digestive system, and the amount of energy that's required to digest that kind of shit food, it's not food, it's a food-like product, will take away the body's capacity to use that energy for healing. So the immune system isn't the battlefield, it's a sacred temple that needs nourishment, not sabotage. All right, so sit with that and consider what it is that you're feeding your children in general, particularly when they're unwell. All right, I think it's time for a breath. This is like a dropping a bomb. You guys ready? Stay with me. Breath in through the nose. We've got this. Breathing in. Out through the mouth. And please repeat after me out loud. I am an amazing parent. Or if you don't have kids, you can say, I will be an amazing parent. Let's do that again. One more time. Big breath in. I am an amazing parent. Yes, I am. Because I've done the best I could with what I had. I'm loving, I'm caring, and I'm learning. So I remove all judgment. I remove all guilt. I remove all shame. Because I've done the best that I can. And because of this podcast, I'm learning some things I didn't know. And it's going to be even better moving forward. My children's immune systems are amazing. They're so strong. They're so resilient. They're so powerful. I have no judgment upon myself or anyone else. I just take this information. I know that everything has happened by divine design until this point. Now I'm going to take the tools that I've learned from today, and I'm going to make my children's life, my family's life, even healthier. I forgive myself fully for anything that I've done consciously or unconsciously, because I know that I'm an amazing parent. And so it is. Do you get it? Can you feel it? Okay, no judgment here, my friends. We keep on moving. Number 4. The number 4 of the most dangerous parenting mistakes is screens and devices. So I want to quote a physician that I have studied a bit, that I saw speaking live not long ago, Dr. Justin Colson. And he talks about screens and how it directly affects our children. Now, you know how easy it is when your kid, is kicking up a stink. You need to cook, you need to clean, you need to take a phone call, you need to deal with some stuff. So you just put them on the iPad, put them on the game. And they can sit there for hours. And then when you take it off, what happens? There's a dopamine crash, a serotonin crash, because they're so addicted to the colors and the movement and the sounds and the graphics on the screen. Then they kick up a stink, right? Yeah, because the brain gets addicted to the stimuli of the screen. Listen, I'm going to put this out there. This is harsh, but I'm just thinking of this. I let my son have a screen and play and game and things like that. But it's specifically in certain hours during certain times. I put a timer on, and it's as once you've done this, then you get to do that. Okay, so we get to have that communication. I talked to him about the dangers of the screen, and I, for one, don't want to condition my son to be a hybrid human. By that I mean, the agenda that's seemingly at play for us to be part robots, right? To get a chip in the brain or a chip in the hand, and this transhumanism agenda that's taking place. I want him to be sovereign, nature-based, conscious, but to be very savvy with technology, to be a master of AI, because it's not going away. But I don't want him to have that as a part of his identity. Okay, so let's talk about screens. One, excessive screen times, according to Dr. Justin Colson, excessive screen time impairs language development, emotional regulation, and focus. It rewires the brain for dopamine-driven, reward-seeking activities on the screen instead of presence and patience. It has a direct effect on rewiring the brain, and it makes them addicts to the screen. It affects sleep patterns, often because of the blue light. And by the way, if your children are on the screen, right, they're on the screen, turn down the brightness. You don't need to have them blasting this blue light into their brain, particularly late at night. You should have no blue light, yourself or your kids, at least 90 minutes before bedtime. If they have screens before bedtime, it will affect their circadian rhythm by affecting the parts of the brain, including melatonin, and it'll affect their sleep. So no screens, 90 minutes before bed. Okay, so one, it affects sleep patterns. Two, like I mentioned, circadian rhythm, and it reduces social confidence in developing children. Okay, so Dr. Colson says that screen time numbs the nervous system and nature rewires it back to coherence. So we need to get out in nature. We have screen time. It's necessary for learning, but you can turn down the brightness. You can use the kind of glasses that I'm wearing right now, which is blue blockers. No screen time before bed, and make sure that it's in a structured way and that they're getting out in nature and they're actually getting the opportunity to play. I remember during COVID, I walked out. I was living at a 5-star resort, and I walked out of my hotel room down to reception. There was a sign, and it says, "Good health starts with healthy hands." And I thought to myself, no, that is absolutely incorrect. Good health starts in the moment that your child is born, and the bacterial flora from the vagina of the mother enters the child, and it begins to develop its nervous system. It doesn't begin with clean hands. Nature, dirt, like getting dirty, getting out in nature, feet on the ground is way, way more important than just washing our hands. Now, washing our hands is important, particularly when we touch all the things that other people have touched. And there's spike proteins out there and a whole bunch of things that aren't good for us. And spike proteins, by the way, have been found in people who have not even been jabbed. I won't say the word vaccinated because it's not a vaccine. It needs to be proven safe to be a vaccine. But these things are out there. So yes, we do need to wash our hands. And it's just a ritual that we have, right? But good health doesn't start with clean hands. Good health actually starts with good bacteria. Okay? Hence, we're talking about getting out in nature. So that's number 4, screen time. Be aware of it. And observe yourself. You know, if you're continuously on the phone in front of your children, not present with your children, what are you modeling? Right? I spend a lot of time on this stupid phone rather than a smartphone, but it's my work, right? But when I'm with my son, I try my best, and I make mistakes all the time. I try my best to really be present. Okay. Gosh, we're only up to number 5. How long have we been going? For 46 minutes. We're rocking it out. If this has been useful, give me a smile. I'll sense it. Okay. So let's get into this next part, number 5. This is a big one. Using the word no rather than an empowered redirection. Okay. And so what I mean by this is often when you say no, it stonewalls the child. Instead of guiding them to what might be a better outcome, a no, which sometimes it has to be a no. Can I have sugar? Can I have this? No. All right. It's appropriate sometimes. But sometimes a no will actually lead to resistance. It'll lead to the child experiencing shame or shutdown. Right? So sometimes I find myself saying no when I really should be saying something like, why don't we try it this way instead? Right? So it's like positive redirection rather than stonewalling. Right? So conscious redirection teaches emotional intelligence. It teaches them instead of no. Like, think about that, what that does to the brain. I would love to try something new. No. All right. Stop. Done. That's it. It's just a no. Instead of no, it's a conscious redirection. Imagine what that does to their brain as they continue. Instead of getting a no, they get a, how about this instead? We're still going for the solution or for the outcome, but we're now thinking solution-based. rather than problem-based. We're now continuing the evolution of the thinking and the creation and the manifestation rather than being stopped. Make sense? Okay, so conscious redirection teaches emotional intelligence, self-sovereignty, and decision-making. Replacing commands with collaboration builds confidence and curiosity. Instead of a no, try, as I said before, why don't we explore this instead? So think about the times that you're saying no. When is it appropriate? And when could it be more co-creative and leading and guiding a child rather than shutting them down and shaming them and stonewalling them? Okay. Number 6. This is a big one. Most people don't know this to the point where they need to know it, but this is making seed oils a common thing in your household, and making seed oils and sugar-based products a celebration. Oh, you've been so good. You've done so great. Now let's go to McDonald's and celebrate. Okay, in my language, that means, yeah, you've been so good. You've done so great. Now I'll take you to a food that serves processed food-like products, and I will poison you, but I will condition you that that's how we celebrate. No judgment, just putting it out there, and you may choose to celebrate at Macca's or other processed food places. But I just want to have this conversation. Okay, so seed oils, they are so dangerous for the brain, for the nervous system, for the gut, for the biome in the gut, for the cardiovascular system, and the list goes on and on. Most people don't know when it says vegetable oil. Yeah, that's seed oils. That's hydrogenated, dangerous oils such as canola oil, soy, sunflower, safflower, corn, and grapeseed oils. These are highly inflammatory oils, right? So, when I go and get takeout, for example, I always ask them, what, this is mind-boggling, and I get the same answer at the same time, so I don't even know why I ask anymore. What oil do you use to cook your food? And they go, oh, I don't know. And let me go and check. Or they say vegetable oil, aka poison, right? And so, call me a geek, but I'll take my coconut oil, my organic coconut oil, and I'll say, please cook with this, right? Because I know it's going to be healthy for me. But when they cook the food in these seed oils, these hydrogenated toxic oils, they create massive inflammation in your nervous system. Even if the vegetables are organic and the rice is clean and the meat is clean, you're still getting poison because you're getting hydrogenated toxic processed seed oils. So we take our children to these places and we eat chips and we eat these things. And I'm not, I have chips, I have takeaway food. I haven't had McDonald's in I don't know how many, like a decade plus, but I do have processed food sometimes. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm far from perfect. I'm just pointing out how we're making that a celebration and how we have takeout without asking the question, what's in this food? Right? So these kind of processed foods, they create oxidative stress. They directly damage your DNA. They age you faster. They make you slower. They make you sick. And they also affect the gut lining and the permeability, leading to leaky gut syndrome and many other issues. So as an example is McDonald's and many other restaurants, they fry their fries in hydrogenated soybean oil, and they use anti-foaming silicone to wrap it all up. Marketing fast food as a treat, my friend, rewires the kid's pathway to toxicity rather than actual nourishment. And think about this, if you become what you eat, what happens to our children if that's the food that they eat on a regular basis? If food is information, what instruction are we giving our children's cells? So again, take this on for whatever it's worth, but look into what kind of oils are you using in your house. Are you cooking with processed hydrogenated seed oils? Is that in the packets that you have? But, an old mentor of mine used to say, if it comes in the pack, don't eat it. Nature didn't make it that way. Right? So, make some organic cacao in the morning rather than, drinking coffee and adding sugar to it and so on and so forth. Good so far? We good? You love me or hate me? Combination of both, maybe? You're welcome. Okay, number 7. You with me? Stay with me. Here we go. Big breath. I'm an amazing parent. Number 7, lack of nature and movement. If you look at a child, the child naturally moves all the time. Okay, from the age of 2 and even 1 sometimes, their movement is continuous. In fact, research shows that elite athletes, if they do exactly what the child does, they're exhausted by the middle of the day. They can barely keep up. There's so much movement, so much energy. Movement is life. As your child is young, your child will move some more than others, yes, but it'll move naturally a lot more than you, which is perfectly healthy and perfectly normal. But as you might know, the first 7 years of your life and of your child's life is what we call in human psychology the imprint period. We call it the imprint period for a very good reason. Approximately 95 to 98% of your child's programming around reality, how they perceive reality, what they believe about life, what they believe about, nutrition and movement and social interactions, what they believe about, God or spirit, what they believe about relationships. Imagine that. Over 90% of their entire blueprint, their program is built in the first 7 years. So even though your child might be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, older, younger, even though they move a lot when they're young, what they pick up in the first 7 years of their life in regards to everything, and in this topic, in regards to movement, will be the program that they use later in life. So what do you mirror to them? Do they see you sitting around on the couch all day? You come home from work and you're tired, you're exhausted, you're just going to sit on the couch and eat some chips. Guess what's going to happen when they get into their teens? Guess what they're going to believe is standard, common, and normal when they get into their 20s and their 30s? And you don't have to be perfect. You can just say, great, I just finished work. I'm so excited. I'm going to go for a 2-minute walk. Right? Well, what's that going to do, Espen? I'm not saying it's not going to do much, apart from the fact that it'll condition your child to know that when they come home from work, we're going for a walk instead of just sitting on a couch eating chips. So think about what you're doing and how that's modeling for the children. Yes? So a couple of things. Lack of movement and lack of nature is extremely important. So kids require, according to the research, 3+ hours of active play every single day. They may or may not get that at their current, program in education or wherever they're going. So it might be awesome for you to go out and play with your kids. One of the best ways to exercise, my friend, is to go and play with your kids. Like when you were young and someone said, so we jump in the ocean, you said, yeah, let's go. Right? Shall we play some ball? Yeah, let's go. And now we're just going, no, I'm just going to sit and watch. What if you just get up and play with your kids? What would you regret if you just played for 5 minutes? You'd get exercise, you'd get movement. If you saw it as joyful play and as conscious movement, you might actually have a really great time. So maybe we can get up and move with our kids a little bit when they're moving as well. But at least 3 hours, give or take, more or less, depending on the child, every single day of conscious active play for the kids, and see if you can get involved and have some fun. Time in nature improves dopamine and serotonin levels. We know that by the time you and your child will put your feet on the ground, there's a direct energetic exchange, approximately 8 hertz or so, the energy of the earth. Okay, you step on the ground and immediately positive ions get released into the earth. Negative ions come into your body. Negative ions are the ones that make your body healthy. And immediately your electromagnetic balance will start to equilibrate itself. So children need to be outside. If you're wearing rubber soles all day, you are disconnected from your mother. When I'm in meetings, I've got a grounding mat underneath my podcast desk right now. When I'm in meetings, if I'm wearing rubber soles, I start to feel stagnant and seriously, like I'm the guy at a 5-star Michelin restaurant with my shoes off, right? Because I'm freaking grounding, man. I feel good that way, right? So your kids need to be barefoot, outside playing, and the same for you. You need to get out in nature. We've discussed this, but now we're specifically talking about movement and the exchange of electromagnetic biophoton energy when you're literally touching the earth. Okay. And this is also important. Sport dropouts often happen due to, please receive this, perceived incompetence. Okay. So often our kids will drop out of sport because they don't feel good enough. Could that be coming from us? Could we be projecting too high expectations upon the children? Could we feel not good enough at sport? So that they say, Dad, come and play frisbee with me. Mum, come and kick the ball. And we go, oh no, I'm no good at soccer. They're picking it up. No judgment, just again for our awareness. So again, sport dropouts in children, it actually often comes from perceived incompetence, again from Dr. Colson. And this is why it's important for parents to model grit rather than quitting, right? How can we allow them to keep on going? We need to test our grit. As I say, we're going through this. So many kids are spoiled now. They're raised in a way where they have everything they need. They're comfortable all the time. And by the way, if you spoil your kids too much, if you're a helicopter parent and continuously giving them everything they need, or making sure that they're never stressed and they're never out of discomfort, you're most likely going to cause a massive issue later in life, because life is not comfort-based. It's growth-based. So our children need to be challenged in healthy, safe ways. And that includes, going to, my son went to karate, and he still goes to karate now, but he didn't want to go for a while because he was like, oh, no. It's like, this is what we're learning. We're learning discipline. We're learning communication, right? We're learning persistence. We're learning grit. So again, make sure that your child has the opportunity to enjoy movement, enjoy sports. And if they want to drop out, maybe it's something that's actually not for them. That's totally cool. But make sure it's not because of perceived incompetence or just a lack of grit. Okay? Nature isn't just a playground. It's a neural reprogramming field. Number 8, parents on devices. I call this one modeling disconnection. I'm guilty of this. I did a podcast earlier today, and I was saying that, if you haven't had a couple of days completely off the phone in the last month, you're addicted. It's just the nature of the beast. This phone creates a massive amount of dopamine and serotonin release when you're scrolling through your Instagram, whatever it is. So you probably find yourself as a parent, taking this thing into the toilet with you. No judgment. I've done it too. You probably find yourself when you just need a break, instead of meditating, scrolling on Instagram. No judgment. I do it too. But what are we modeling for our children? I call it modeling disconnection for a reason. Because how can you expect your kids not to be on the iPad or their game or their screen when they see you on that phone all day? So I know you need to be on your phone, and I'm not perfect. Again, I'm explaining to my son that, listen, this is our livelihood. This is how I'm creating a legacy. This is how I'm building, a business that, you might be able to inherit one day if that's a passion of yours. Right. And this is how I'm paying the bills and creating the estate. I'm working. But I'm also conscious to not be on the phone when I'm around him. So I put it away. So I'm not modeling disconnection. So children learn more from observation rather than instruction. So the amount of time that you're on the phone, how you're on the phone, what you're doing on the phone, be aware of that, because they're also watching that. Okay. Parental device addiction trains children in disassociation. It really downregulates their social skills. My friend Kelly Gorez created a movie called Heal, Heal, The 9 Steps to an Abundant Healthy Life. And what they found in the research as to what it means to truly heal and be healthy is that social connection, social interaction is more important than movement and nutrition. Think about that for the health of your child. Think about that for your health. We see the research from, I think, the 1950s until today. The amount of time that you used to spend with friends and family and social communities used to be a lot, and it's approximately 10 to 15% today in 2025 compared to what it was about 50 or so years ago, give or take. Okay. And the amount of time on screens and social media has skyrocketed. We are literally losing connection to each other by being on these screens. All right. That is indoctrinating this transhumanist agenda. Now, you need to be on screens. I know you got to work. You need to be on screen. Sometimes you need entertainment. I watch movies too. Haven't had a television. I haven't had someone tell me their vision for a very long time because I need to be sovereign as to what I put in to my brain. I want to be sovereign with what my son is imprinting into his nervous system. So I speak of this because this is so important. Just be conscious of how you're spending time on your screen, what it is that you're watching on the screen, and what you're modeling. Instead of training disassociation, let's train connection. Let's train interaction. Instead of attention fragmentation, let's try and create their opportunity to play games and to be creative. Seriously, arts and crafts, as you already do with your kids, I'm sure, so much more healthy. And what a beautiful thing to do with the family as well. And when they're continuously on a screen, obviously they're being desocialized, if you will. Okay. So studies show that too much time on the screen will decrease vocabulary, increase tantrums, lower emotional safety. And this is specifically made worse when parents are digitally distracted. So your presence is the portal in which your child will learn presence. Okay. So that's how we can make sure that what we do is conscious, at least while they're watching and then some. Okay. Make sense? So I go into these ones because they're big ones and they're the ones that are so very common in our life as well. Another few breaths. We only have 2 more. Here we go. Big breath in. I am an amazing parent. Okay. The biggest mistake, number 9, the second last one I'm going to talk about is not having a morning routine. And yes, I'm talking about you, not your kids. So when you wake up in the morning, your brain is in a very susceptible state. When your child wakes up in the morning, they're completely open to suggestion. Their subconscious mind is wide awake, or at least absorbing everything that's happening, and the conscious mind is still moving its way into alpha, into beta, depending on what's happening in your situation. So you're open. It's like you're a sponge, right? So if you wake up in the morning, and this is like when I study billionaires, wildly successful people, philanthropists, thought leaders, paradigm shifters, people who are changing the planet, people who are performing at the 0.1% of the top performers in the world, the artists, the athletes, the soulpreneurs, right? When I'm studying them, they all have a morning routine. If I take 10 wildly successful people and 10 people who are struggling in life, and I ask them about their morning routine, you'll see a direct correlation between success, happiness, fulfillment, performance, and they have a morning routine. And similarly on the other side. So here's the key. Morning routine. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, you have no morning routine, right? And you get up and you're a bit tired because your meal was too big, too late, and too processed. So you wake up exhausted. Why? Because while you're sleeping, the majority of your energy that should have been used for healing and recovery and rest has been used to digest processed toxins, right? And so now you're exhausted because you've got no energy because you used it all for digestion and toxin elimination, right? So you wake up exhausted, and what do? You drag yourself out of bed. You need a coffee. You need to spike cortisol, right? And I'm being a bit strong here, but a lot of people do this. And then you eat some sort of sugary processed foods. And then you just wake up the kids in that shitty, stressful state, trying your very best. Right? I get it. And some days will be like that. And you don't have a morning routine. And what do your children see? That's the imprint. That's what they feel and experience the first thing in the morning. And this might be you, might be your husband, your wife, or might be someone else. Maybe you already got this nailed. So if that's the case, let's take it to a whole new level. Not having a conscious, self-centered morning routine is one of the most dangerous mistakes. Why? Not just for your success and achievement and fulfillment and quality of life, but for your children. Because again, they're waking up in the morning. Imagine this. Scenario one, they wake up, you're rushed, stressed, you've had some sugar, you fed them sugar, and it just doesn't feel good. Right? And you're exhausted, right? Sometimes you're exhausted. I get it. But shouldn't be tired every morning. Something's wrong if you're tired every morning. You should wake up feeling invigorated, right? Imagine that scenario number one compared to scenario number two. Scenario number two is you ate one meal a day, maybe twice a day. You had quality organic food, whole foods, fruits, quality vegetables, organic meats, right? Eggs, whatever it is that you're eating or not eating. Keep it lean, green, clean, and keep it organic. Okay. I love it when I don't love it. It triggers me and I smile when I go to a supermarket and it says, no added hormones. And you think it's no hormones. No, it's no added hormones. Right? So what does that mean? Well, they've jabbed the animal full of chemicals and hormones and it's riddled throughout the meat, but they didn't add any hormones after they killed the animal. I love the BRICS scale, BRIX, that gives the factories the legal right to say no added sugar, even though they've added sugar. Processed white sugar, bleached sugar. They've added processed sugar into your foods, into your drinks. This is no added sugar. Why? Because the BRICS scale will give them an average and a mean, right? So if the sugar level is here, they can bump it up to below the level and still call it no added sugar because it's below the scale. This is marketing. This is deception. Don't fall for it. If it grows out of the ground, it hasn't been manipulated as much. Go to your local farmer's market, get the clean food. Okay? And if you choose to have a cheat day, do so consciously, but not every day. Okay. Again, I digress, but I hope that was useful. Just dropping the bombs here for you guys. Yeah. Okay. So back to the second scenario. Wake up in the morning. You've had a healthy meal, maybe two, and some vegetables, fruits, nuts, whatever, the day before, right? You didn't eat after 6 p.m. Right. So you have 6, 7, 8, 9. Maybe you're up until 10, right? So you have 4, 5 hours to digest all that food before you go to bed. You go to bed and you've done your gratitude. Like every night, I just thank you for my bed. Oh my God, I got my own bed. Thank you for my breath. What would I do without breath? Try holding your breath for 60 seconds and tell me how grateful you are. Right. For the breath. I got my own house. I got my own car. My children are safe. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what I imprint into my mind before I go to sleep. Makes sense. So easy. Doesn't cost you anything to do it. In fact, I think it costs you a lot more. What happens? Well, you're imprinting your brain while in sleep state, while accessing and visiting the fourth dimension. Gratitude is your primary energy signature, right? You wake up. First thing you do, thank you for this. Thank you for that. I'm so grateful. All right. You feel refreshed. You feel energetic. Why? Because your digestive system has had a rest. You've had a beautiful night's sleep. Maybe you did a little prayer before you went to sleep. Maybe you put a little field of protective light around you. Right? So you wake up and you drink water. And instead of just drinking water, you're drinking spirit. We just talked about that. Thank you, thank you, thank you for this life-giving element. I love you so much. I'm so grateful. Thank you for entering my body, healing my body. Thank you for giving life to my children. Without water, there would be no life. Thank you for the life of my children. I love you. Thank you for my son drinking water today. As he drinks water today, spirit enters him, heals him, and nourishes him, and hydrates him. Thank you so much. That's your morning routine, part of your morning routine. I teach all of this in what's called my accelerator program, which is my life mastery program. 90 minutes every week for 16 weeks, for 4 months. So one semester every week, 90 minutes for 4 months. We learn how to create a life by design instead of a life by default. If you're interested, you can go to drespen.com. It's called the Accelerator Program. You can send us a message or apply for a spot. These principles will change your life completely, right? After you drink your water, maybe you have your favorite tea. Maybe you have a coffee, but you make it sacred and you enjoy it. Maybe it's decaf at some point, right? And then you have your morning routine. So you need at least 60 minutes in the morning, uninterrupted. I don't care if you need to get up at 5 because your kids get up at 6. Whatever it is, go to bed an hour earlier. Just spend 1 hour less a day on this thing, and I guarantee you'll have time for meditation and sleep, right? You get up an hour earlier. You feel amazing. And even if you don't shake it off, do some shadow boxing, go for a run, do some push-ups, do some yoga, whatever, do something in the morning, but it's you time. It's you time. No one else is interfering with the time. Please listen. This thing, your phone, it's on flight mode. Yes, it is. You do not turn your phone on during your morning routine, because what happens is you open, ding, 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 ding. Messages from the entire world come in, and now they're stealing your presence. And now you feel the anxiety. Now you feel the stress. So your phone is on flight mode. I've downloaded my breath work and my meditation onto my phone. So I just plug it in, connect it to a Bluetooth, and I go, and I breathe, and I do my meditation, my gratitude, my morning practice, right? And after an hour, once I've journaled, I've pulled a card, I've prayed for my water, I've done movement, I've done me, whatever it is. Maybe you want to dance in the morning. Maybe you want to sing. Maybe you want to run. Maybe whatever. Like, movement has to be part of it, right? Once that's done, you've done your gratitude, and then you're finished. And now it's almost 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever it is. And guess what? You are in a beautiful state. You've done you. You've charged your battery first as a parent. And then you go and you wake your child with joy, with presence, with gratitude, with love, with compassion, with excitement, with gentleness and enthusiasm. Imagine that when your child's brain is open to suggestion, and that's the energy imprint that you give to your little ones, because mama, because daddy did them. They took care of themselves first. So again, the ninth, one of the biggest mistakes that we make as parents, one of the most dangerous mistakes, is that we don't have a morning routine. We don't prioritize ourselves. We don't put ourselves first. So we're modeling to our children to put everyone else first. That is a big mistake. So parents who skip self-care begin their day reactive, dysregulated, and unavailable. Children become entrained to the dormant frequency in the home being stress, not presence and mastery. Okay. A simple 10-minute morning routine like breathwork, intention, stillness, prayer, meditation, movement can reset the entire, and please hear me now, family field, the collective energy field. Take charge, mom. Take charge, dad. You're the leader. Put yourself first, and your children will model the master. They'll learn that they're important, that they're valuable, that their needs matter. They'll learn to put themselves first. Okay? Extremely important. You are the tuning fork of your household. Cool. Number 10, you ready? I saved the best for last. Cool. I made this mistake for a long time. And I borrowed the program from my mum and my dad. And the biggest mistake that we make as parents is, you ready? Not teaching faith, not conditioning trust, and not modeling emotional resilience. Okay, so let's be clear. This is not a religious conversation. I was raised by a father who sadly hates God. He hates Jesus Christ, Yeshua, because his mum was indoctrinated by religion and beat him violently and badly very often because he wasn't a good child. He was punished by God, he felt. So his nervous system is completely in survival when any conversation about spirituality at all, particularly religion, particularly Christianity. My mom was spiritual, but had no real connection in terms of a ritual with spirit. So I was raised in an atheist way. I was raised feeling, I was never, but I was feeling that I was disconnected from spirit. So I don't care if you're Buddhist, if you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, if you are a analytical person that wants to call it the quantum field, a scientifically proven field of divine intelligence that makes up everything, everywhere, all the time. A scientifically proven field that's been proven for over 100 years and still true to this day. There is a field of intelligence. Call it the universe, call it spirit, call it source, call it God. I don't care what you call it, it's real. You know it. And the biggest mistake that I believe that we make is that we don't. And some people do this, right? Some people have a beautiful, strong faith, and they are conditioning and tuning their children into a connection with God, a connection with spirit. But that's what I see a lot of people aren't doing. Maybe they go to church once a week. Maybe they have some sort of ritual where they do something, but they're not really making their lives a ceremony. They're not really embodying divination. They're not really living a spiritual path. So the kids are picking that up. Oh yeah, like how many times don't we see this, particularly in European countries? Yeah, we went to church once a week, and we had to go on a Sunday. And it's not just have to do. No, you're in a conscious communication with your Creator, right? My son will see me talk to God, and he's going, "What are you doing, man?" And I'll say, "I'm talking to God, man. What do you think?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, makes sense, yeah," because God is everywhere and everything all the time. So I'll drive and I say, "Dear God, thank you so much. I can't believe you created cars. I can't believe you created these trees. I'm so honored and grateful that I get to drive on these roads and that my son and I are alive because your presence is in us. I'm so grateful. I have an altar in my house, right? I sit here at my podcast desk and I have a palo stick and I make it sacred, right? And I try to infuse faith, no matter what it is that you believe in, create a structure, a ceremony within the way you live. You know, like for example, praying, or if you don't like the word praying, which is you talking to God, by the way, the most important conversation to have, but having a conversation with spirit and blessing the food. Like how many people don't have devices at their table and just meal served, start eating? The food is energy, right? Place your hands over the food. Do this together as a family. It might feel awkward in the beginning if you're not already praying over your food, but give it a try for 30 days or even 7 days. We hand over the food. No one starts eating until we bless the food, right? Dear Spirit, God, universe, whatever you want to say, thank you so much for the food. Thank you for the nutrition. Thank you for the animal that died so that we can be nourished. Thank you to the plants and the vegetables that feed us, that give us life. Thank you to the farmers and the people that work hard so we can have food today. Please, may the children of the earth that don't have food get access to food today. We are so grateful for this food. It will change the structure of your food. It'll change the energy of the food, and it will have an impact on your cells, on your health. And what will it do for your children? It'll show them that there is spirit, there is energy. The quantum field is at play. And I don't know if you know this, but in quantum physics or studying quantum mechanics, what we see is we call it collapsing the wave function. We've seen this in the double slit experiment, that when you observe something, as in you're present with your food rather than just devouring it, right? When you are observing something, it'll change based on how you're observing it. Okay, you get this? It'll change based on how you're observing it. So it's called collapsing the wave function. Everything is wave, not particle. But the moment you put your attention upon it, it collapses into particle. That means that how you observe it will change based on how you're observing it. What you're observing will change based on how you're observing it. As the late great Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say, we don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. So as a parent, when you're saying thank you for the food and you're blessing the food, it'll change the imprint of your relationship, your child's relationship to food, your child's relationship to water, your child's relationship to the blessing of this nutrition that most kids in the world don't have like we have. And it'll change the field around you and within you. So the biggest mistake is that we don't teach our children how to make life a ceremony, how to make life a celebration. We don't teach them to trust that there is a divine force of limitless intelligence within us, to connect with spirit, to commune with the divine, to have a communication with the Creator, right? And we, as such, live in a materialistic, separated world and we teach disconnection. So this is the biggest one, the biggest mistake. Even if you are religious or spiritual, my question is, how would you make your life a ceremony if life was a celebration? And how can we teach this to our children through the practices, which creates that connection between the little one and their creator? Isn't that special? I'm so grateful that I've had the opportunity to be with you today. I want to read a closing statement that I've read. And then I hope in my heart, if this has been at all useful, that you share this with at least 3 parents. And that those 3 parents share it again with the next 3 parents, because all it takes is for one parent to go, wow, there's cancer-causing chemicals in the sunscreen. Let's swap that out. There's seed oils in the food. There's this in that and this. Hang on, I'm just going to get rid of that. All it takes is one parent to change one habit, and you will have a direct impact on your child's health. If you listen to this, if you pause it and you write down all 10 and you act and apply all of those 10 steps, your body is amazing. Your child's body has innate intelligence beyond the vastness of our comprehension. We can't even begin to fathom how intelligent the body is. The moment you make these changes, your energy, frequency, and vibration, your coherence, health, and healing of the child and the entire home will come up to a whole new level. Why? Because you acted upon what you learned today. So please share this podcast to as many people as you can. And if I can be so straightforward, do it for the children. Okay? Not for me. Do it for the children. Not even for you. So let me end with this closing statement. Parenting is not a performance. It's a vibration. It's a state of being. It's not about what we say. It's about who we are. Moment to moment, every single day. Today is all that we have. When we allow ourselves to clean up our lifestyle, to remove the toxins, to tune into presence, to elevate our habits, to live from the heart, we create a field within our home that programs our children, not just for success, but for sovereignty. As a parent, you've been blessed with the gift to be a guardian, to be a custodian. Let's set the stage for the awakened children. When my parents were raised, they had no idea of emotional intelligence. These things weren't even in our awareness. When I was raised, I didn't know. So I've learned. Our children now, they have access to levels of intelligence, communion, in a whole new way that you and I perhaps never had. Imagine if we can change their habits now, our habits now. And sometimes we need something greater than ourselves to make the change. To quit the sugar, we need to do it for our children, because that's even more meaningful than doing it for ourselves sometimes. So maybe this is the inspiration to make the change that you've been wanting to make for so long. And if we make that, like I said, it ran in the family until it ran into me. If we make those changes now, how's that going to impact our kids, and how's that going to impact your grandkids? I tear up. This is how we can bring heaven on earth, by changing what we do every single day. Because for me, heaven's not out there. Heaven is here. And it's our job to be custodians of an awakened species. I thank you for your time. I'm grateful to have had this time. I'm so excited that you're blessed with the opportunity to be a parent or a grandparent, or maybe in the future a parent, and that you remember how amazing you are, that you've done the perfect job, the most amazing job, but there's always room for improvement, and your opportunity to impact your children's lives and the lives of other children by sharing this podcast with as many people as you can. Even though I don't know you, I love you. I thank you for your time. I'm Dr. Espen. It's been a privilege to be with you. If this has been useful, please comment. Let me know, and I can do more videos like this as a part of the Quantum Parenting Series podcasts. All right. Peace and love. God bless you. And I'll see you in the next one.